Hello all. So in the last session we have seen how do we implement logistic regression model. So today in this session I would like to talk about how do we implement another classification model which is decision tree. Okay. So we will build a decision tree model for the given data set and try to predict the target with the best accuracy. Okay. So before we actually go with the experiment, I would like to talk about the decision trees. So as we have seen earlier, decision tree is a supervised machine learning algorithm which can be used for both classification and regression, but most probably we will be using decision tree for classification task. Okay. So like other classification algorithms, this algorithm also works by splitting the given data set into its different subsets, okay, based on the feature values, with which we create a tree like structure where we have nodes, sub nodes, and then leaf nodes. The root node is nothing but the main target variable, and then based on this we will also divide, we will also have sub nodes, and we will also have the leaf nodes which are nothing but the exit or the target variables. Okay. So we have a tree like structure where each node will actually represent a decision rule and each leaf node will actually represent the target value or the class. Okay. So let's start building our decision tree model. So similar to the experiment that we have done in the last class, we first load the data set. Okay. You can use any publicly available data set or you can customize your own data. You can work the way you want it. Okay. And once you're done with that, preview the data to understand its structure and key features. Okay. To basically understand what type of data that we are working on. Okay. You usually do this step. So in this case, I have taken the same data, Titanic data set that we have used in the last experiment, because you have some basic knowledge about the data set. That is, Titanic data set is all about predicting the survival rate of the person depending upon some various features like what we have seen in the last class: passenger class, age, sex. Okay. And then other attributes. Okay. So similar to the last experiment, we import the libraries first. Okay. As you can see here, first we import pandas. Okay. And then seaborn, SNS. Okay. For plotting, matplotlib also for plotting. From sklearn model selection, we import train test plate. This is same. Okay. The only new thing here that you see is for from sklearn.tree, I'm importing this tree classifier. Okay. So the logistic regression model is available in model selection, right? So but here decision tree classifier, the name, the module name for the algorithm is decision tree classifier, which is available in sklearn.tree. Okay. This is one change. And I also want to plot the tree structure and see. Hence, I'm also importing the function plot tree. And as this is a classification model, I have the same performance metrics, the confusion metrics, classification report, and accuracy score. So from sklearn.metrics, I'm importing accuracy score, classification report, confusion metrics. Okay. All the libraries are same except this line. In the last experiment, we have imported from sklearn.pre-processing, we have imported logistic regression model. But here from sklearn.decision, from tree, we import the decision tree classifier. Again, see, D is capital, T is capital, C is capital. Okay. So this is how I import the required libraries. And then same thing, I am loading the same Titanic data set and I want to print the first few columns. So this is how my data set is previewed: name, age, sex, okay, ticket price, parts number, fare, cabin number, okay, embarked. So embark is nothing but the place where the stops. Okay. So this is how the data set is getting displayed. And then let's start doing the pre-processing like what we have done in the last experiment. So depending upon the data set, we actually choose to do the pre-processing. The same thing I'm doing here because the data set is same. We go for feature selection, that is choose the variables that are actually required or which has most importance, and then remove or replace the missing values. If you don't want to remove the missing values, you can replace them with mean, median, and mode, that which we have discussed during data pre-processing session. And then we will encode the categorical variables like the sex column as male and female, which I am converting into 0 and 1. Male represents 0, female represents 1. Okay. So this is how I do selected features, and then data, selected features plus survive, which is nothing but input plus output, and I'm doing some categorical encoding on sex variable, and then I'm dropping all the rows with missing values, and then X is nothing but the input features, Y is nothing but the target variable, which is survive. And after once I'm done with pre-processing, I'll entirely split the data into training and testing, with test size being 20 and training size being 80. Okay. The steps remains the same. Okay. Once I'm done with that, See, the model development actually varies from step 3. 1 and 2 will almost be similar except except some parameters. Okay. Now here we have to train the decision tree model. So we can use the sklearn library to create the model and train the model and fit that model with the given training data. Okay, so when we talk about decision tree, we have seen we have to choose the root node, right? For forming a tree, we have to choose the root node, and we have these two criterion, right? Gini index and entropy. Okay, so we have to choose either Gini index or entropy for picking up the input variable with utmost importance, which would be considered as the root node, and the other variables would be considered as subnodes. Okay, so we initialize and train the decision tree model. So here, when you are initializing the model, so far we didn't declare any parameters inside that, like we have taken only logistic regression model. But here when you talk about decision tree, you just call the model, use the instantiate the decision tree classifier, inside which you have to give some attributes, the depth of the tree, how many subclasses you want to take, and then criterion, whether you want to go for Gini index or entropy. Okay, so you just have to give these attributes and then fit the model with the X train and Y train, same training data, both on both X train and Y train. X is nothing but the input features, Y is nothing but the target variable, both input and output of the training data. Okay, after that we will evaluate the model, same like the logistic regression model. We use the performance metrics, accuracy, precision, recall, and we try to visualize the decision tree. Okay, this is the confusion matrix which we were talking about in the last session. So the same confusion matrix would be taken, and then we'll try to make the predictions. Okay, here also it will be the same thing. Y prediction, the model, see the model that I have built here is with the variable name model, model. Okay, so fit the data here. Now using the same variable model, I am trying to predict the new values for X test. Okay, I want to print some sample predictions 10 and 10, and after that I want to evaluate the model, that is I want to give the accuracy score, print the classification report for Y test and Y predictions. As you can see, these are the first 10 samples. Okay, so for 0, the prediction actual value is 0, prediction is also 0. 1 1 1 1 1 1, so 1 misclassification, 2 misclassification, 3. So out of 10 values I have 3 misclassification, so the accuracy is around 70%. So it is like this. This is the average one. This is only for first 10 samples. I may have some 100 samples given in the data set. So for the first 10 also, it clearly shows this is one mismatch, second mismatch, third mismatch. The actual value is 1, prediction is 0, actual is 1, prediction is 0, actual is 0, prediction is 1. 3 misclasses out of 10. So the accuracy would be around 70. It is 72 here for the entire data set. Okay, this is how I print my classification report. Okay, so once I am done with this, I'll go for some visualizations. So here you can use confusion metrics, you can print important features, you can have different visualizations depending on what you want to access. Okay, so here I want to visualize the decision tree. Okay, so give the figure size name, because decision tree is usually huge. We have main node, root node, sub nodes, subtrees, and then finally the leaf nodes, right? So just give the size of the tree and then plot the tree with the model, feature names, classes, that is survived, not survived. Okay, so I'm giving all these attributes, and then print that tree with the title decision tree visualization. Along with that, I also want to print the confusion matrix. Okay, so confusion matrix would be printed on actual values and predicted values, right? Y test and Y prediction. Okay, so I am giving some annotations again similar to what we have done in the last session. The title is confusion matrix. On the X label, I want to print predicted values, and Y label, I want to print actual values. As you can see, I know this is not clear, but I want you to, for the size constraint, I have to put it like that. Okay, because we have so many parameters. Okay, so here in the decision tree, we have root node, and these are sub nodes, and finally survival rate is given. Okay, based on the different parts. This is one root node, sub nodes, and again under each sub node, again I have my the sub decision trees based on which I have my leaf nodes generated, and this is nothing but your confusion matrix. Okay, so this is all about how we build a decision tree model. Okay, so let me quickly recap the steps again. First is load the data set, import the required libraries, and load the data set. Once I am done with that, pre-process, select the important features, handle the missing values, encode the categorical variables if they are available. Okay, all these are optional depending upon the data set that you take. Okay, if you don't want to work on Titanic data set, if you want to work on some other data set, you can just give the URL, or you can also, using pandas, you can load the data set and do the pre-processing required. Okay, depending on how your data set is actually available. Okay, I'll train the decision tree model using decision tree classifier mm, function, which is already available in sklearn.tree. Give the attributes, criterion and max depth here. Random state 42 for generating the exact values instead of changing them every time we train the model. I am fitting the model with the training data, that is X train and Y train. Once I am done with fitting, I'll go for evaluation. For given X test as input, I evaluate the model and go for Y predictions. Okay, and then print the accuracy based on Y predictions and Y test data. Okay, so this is how we get 10 samples. Okay, here I have given, in the code I have given, print the predicted values first 10 columns. Okay, first for 10 samples, so hence only 10 samples are given. So accuracy on the test data is 72%, and that is the classification report. And once I'm done with predictions, I'll go for some visualizations of the trees. Okay, so this is all about how we build the decision tree model on a given data set. Thank you all.